Good evening, IL family, and welcome back to your Monday night broadcast. It's Lady Timiel here, and I want to welcome you guys back in on tonight for another brief discussion where we talk about positive living via simple truths. And as you can see, tonight's topic is dependability hindering you? And this topic comes from an experience I had on last week. And so, where I work, sometimes in that area, they bring in different vendors to food truck vendors to actually supply food to us. And so on this particular day, we had gotten a message that there was going to be a particular food truck there. And I went online and I Googled and I did my research, and the pictures and all the things that I saw about this business were very positive, and I was looking forward to supporting. But when we got there, we found out we didn't see anything. We didn't see a food truck. We didn't see anyone there. And so we wondered where it was. So I went in to ask the question, and long story short, we found out that this particular person wasn't able to make it. They didn't notify them into the last minute. This company was kind of had a lot of big meeting, and they were dependent on this person to be there, and they were not, and they really didn't have a backup plan at this point. So it kind of left them high and dry, as well as those that they had sent out the communication to. And so what it made me think about is, especially at that moment, I started thinking about entrepreneurs and everyone that is doing things in the world, and how we're always wanting someone to call on us. We're always wanting someone to pick us out. We're always wanting someone to utilize our services or choose us for the thing. But one of the things that I wonder that is hindering us in life, not only in this aspect, but as we go into the discussion, you'll see other places, is dependability your hindrance on today? Is to dependability one of your issues on today? And so let's just say, for example, with time, are you the person that is always on time, or are you the person that's always late? A person that's always on time who has moments here and there where they're not in place, that person, people can kind of look past that. But when you have a habitual characteristics of not being in place, then that does not make you a dependable person. And so the definition of dependable is trustworthy and reliable. And so why would you think that it's so important that we be trustworthy, that we be reliable, that someone be able to depend on us? If you think about it, have you ever asked a person a question or asked them if they wanted to do something or whatever, and they're like, well, I don't know, I'll let you know. And you may say, okay, well, when are you going to let me know? Because I kind of need a date or a time, or when will you decide what you're going to do? And if you think about it, in that moment, something so small, they're actually taking your time and holding it hostage until they make a decision on what it is that they're going to do. See, the word of God teaches us that our yes should be yes and our no should be no, and that there is no in between. So if we say yes to a thing, then that means that we have to live by it. And if we say no to a thing, the same thing, we get to live by it. You get the choice in your yes or your no, but people should be able to take you at face value. I was recently doing a referral for someone, and that was one of the things that I said about this person, that they were reliable. Like, you knew you could take them at face value. What they said they would do or would not do, that is exactly what it was. And you could take them at face value. As for employers, when you're helping people with stuff in your ministry, in your churches that you are in your family, in your group, your friends, everybody wants to know that when you say what you're going to do, that you are actually going to do it. And on tonight, if you don't think about dependability as being a portion of your character. Think about dependability as being that thing that Think about dependability being something that should be produced as a part of the character that is on the inside of you. So in saying that, it takes me to the scripture in John 15:3, where Jesus is teaching about who the true vine is and the branches. And he says in this verse 3, he says, you have already been pruned and purified by the message that I have given you. Remain in me and I will remain in you. For a branch cannot produce fruit if it is severed from the vine, and you cannot be fruitful unless you remain in me. And so what is Jesus saying here on the night? You know that Jesus is the true vine. He is the one that we are connected to. When we get saved, we get immediately connected to him. That character that's on the inside of him, we now have the ability to follow after our example. We have the ability to follow after our motto. And no one can be more dependable than Jesus was. He stood what he said that he would do, he did. What he purposed to come on this earth and do, he did. Everything that he's promised that he was. And no, we as human beings will not live up to that measure where we never fail, where we never ever have a moment. But the thing about it is your dependability and your reliability, people are dependent on you. But even greater than that, you yourself, when you're not dependable, you are harming yourself. When you tell yourself, think about it this way. How many of you set goals like weight loss goals or something to improve yourself? And you've had this up and down. I know I can be a witness. You've had this up and down battle with it. And some days you're good and some days you're bad. And yes, you got to give yourself grace and say, okay, I know that I'm working on this and it's not working, but I'm going to keep trying. But if you ever think about it, is some of that part of the reason why you don't succeed at those things? Because you're not being dependable. You're not reliable. You're not being true to yourself. You're not saying, self, we can do this, or self, I already know I'm not going to do this. So why go through the process of setting up the goals? I don't know how many times in life I've bought the weight loss program, or I've bought the gym membership, or I've gotten on this whole kick where I'm doing the research and everything behind it, just only to get that information and actually start it. And then after a couple of weeks say, you know what, this is not for me. I had to come into a place in life where I had to say, okay, in order to be healthy, I also have to be sensible, because in order to do that, you have to be realistic with yourself and what you're going to do. So not only does your yes and your no have to be straightforward to people, it also has to be true to yourself. What are you going to do? Your yes and your no. You know how we come up with these bright ideas and all these things that we're working on and we're pushing toward each and every day, all these goals we have, but you have to be honest with yourself. Are you going to put in the work? Are you going to be able to set aside the time to put in what you need to put in to produce it, to make it to that goal? Because that's your true yes. That's your dependability. And really being dependable should first start with your relationship with Christ. But then next it should start with your relationship with you. You just being true to yourself. If you can do those two things, then you can be dependable and reliable to everyone else. And so on the night, I just wanted to come and say that, because that is what's hindering a lot of us, that upward movement. You know how we say, okay, I'm going to do a thing, and then we don't do it. That is what's hindering us, a lot of us on the night. So the thing is, ask yourself, if somebody had to put me on a scale and they had to say, and then you measure yourself, don't let anyone else do that for you. But if someone had to put me on a scale from 1 to 10, asking me how reliable, how dependable I am, if I went into the job interview and I was being honest, not just trying to say what I needed to say to get the job, if I were really being true with that person, what would I say about how dependable and reliable I am? Would my yes really mean yes? Would my no really be no? Would I really be willing to put in the work and put in the effort that I am saying about myself? How I'm selling myself, is that actually the true of my character, or am I lying to myself on today? And so I just want to encourage you to kind of get down to the bottom of yourself, the true essence of yourself, and look at your character. Look at this character trait on tonight, because dependability is required for you to go to the next goal. It's required for you to meet the next thing. It's required for you to serve and to help people and to be able to be called on. Dependability is even required when you think about the things that God has called you to. He wants to know that you are dependable, that you're going to be there. And let me tell you something about being dependable. Sometimes it's going to require that you sacrifice. Sometimes it's going to require that you do it even in the midst of the pain, even in the midst of life situations. You still got to honor that yes, and you still got to stand by what it is that you said you're going to do. And if you do it over time, you're going to produce so much strength in this area that you're going to become kind of rock solid in it. And it doesn't mean that sometimes things won't happen and you don't meet that, but it should be 99.9 or 0.8% of the time that you are doing exactly what you're saying you're doing, because not only are you being true to others, but you're being true to yourself. So I hope this has encouraged someone on tonight, maybe challenged you to look at how dependable you are and reliable you are, and just try to tweak it a little bit and do the things that you're saying you're going to do. And if you don't know whether you're going to do it, then guess what? Just say no. No is easier than saying yes to something and then not standing by what it is you said. I want you guys to have a blessed week. Thank you for tuning in on tonight. And I hope you'll come back next week as we have another conversation about positive living via simple truths. I love that simple truths part, because I try to keep it simple where we can understand and we can apply. If we can't apply it to our lives, it does us no good. It's just information. Good night, everybody.